Jeremy Corbyn was in Sheffield this morning, promising 0 hours contracts would be a thing of the past under a Labour government. In Loughborough, he was then offering a future where 16-year-olds get the right to vote and youth services an extra £1 billion of funding.
The campaign is being framed as the Brexit election. In reality, of course, that is a factor in it, but it's also about health, about housing, about education, about environment, and about hope for the future.
But as much as he tried to broaden the agenda, it was his Brexit declaration last night on Question Time which was still fueling debate.
But the question is, will you campaign to remain or leave the EU if elected?
There'd be a second referendum, he replied, then added this.
I will adopt, as Prime Minister, if I am at the time, a neutral stance so that I can credibly carry out the results of that to bring our communities and country together rather than continuing an endless debate about the EU and Brexit.
Such avowed neutrality was a sign of maturity, he said today. Others in the party hailed it as brave. Political opponents were scathing.
Just beggars belief that somebody who is standing for the role of leading our country can then say that on the biggest issue that we have faced for generations, they're not going to take a position.
A total lack of leadership. I mean, this is the defining issue of our times, and the Labour leader says he doesn't know which side he's going to back.
Symptomatic perhaps of just how divisive this issue has proved within Labour itself, from Welsh Labour came a renewed commitment today that however neutral Jeremy Corbyn might be in a second referendum, under their leader, Mark Drakeford, Welsh Labour would campaign enthusiastically for Remain.
Well, every leader has to make their own judgment, and these are difficult judgments. Jeremy Corbyn's made his, Mark Drakeford has made a different one, because he believes that leaving the EU, the deal on the table, would deindustrialise the Welsh economy. So it's wrong in principle, and in terms of the politics, you can't split the difference on this. You will satisfy nobody. So it's better politics and better principle to come out strongly for Remain.
In Bridgend this afternoon, held by Labour at the last election, many had views on Jeremy Corbyn adopting a neutral Brexit position.
I do think it's a sensible move. If he's neutral, he's not siding with any particular party on it. So that's why I think he should remain neutral.
Just like to know what his actual feelings and opinions are on the matter. It'd be nice to know if our leader is going to take us one way or the other and which way he thinks is best.
And, you know, if you want to be a leader of the country, one thing you can't do is sit on the fence, which I think to remain neutral is a bit of a cop-out.
I think that's actually changed my opinion on him completely, actually. So I thought he was a bit of a fantasist before, but that neutral standpoint I think is actually more relevant than ever. You've got to be objective with Brexit, I think, you know, and not let your feelings get in the way of it. I think we need to take a step back and analyse what's going on and then move forward.
The Tories joined others using this to criticise Jeremy Corbyn's leadership credentials, mixed in with their eve of manifesto launch pledges. Today, promising an extra £83 million a year into dementia research over the next decade.
There is the hope on the horizon of a cure for dementia, or at least the ability to delay its onset. So we're going to double the research funding, but also have what we're calling a moonshot, a national mission to find a cure for dementia.
And so tomorrow, the business of flaunting political ambition amidst the choreography of another manifesto launch continues.
Andy Davis there. Well, joining us now for our second leader interview in the lead up to the election is Sian, co-leader of the Green Party. Thanks very much for coming in. First of all, on Jeremy Corbyn, he says being an honest broker is a sign of maturity and strength. What do you think?
I think he should be taking a strong Remain position, as the Green Party have done. It's no good saying you're going to be neutral when, you know, the deal we have now is the best deal we could have, when we're going to be arguing to stay in the EU against any deal that comes forward, because we know that we need to protect our environment, our workers' rights, our human rights and our freedom of movement. If he's not going to stand up for those things, that isn't good leadership.
Isn't there a difficulty for you as part of this Unite to Remain alliance that the fact that Labour declined to join it has effectively neutered your ability to really make many inroads?
The agreement we've come to is across a large number of Conservative-held seats, where by teaming up with the parties that have talked to us in Unite to Remain, so Plaid Cymru and the Liberal Democrats, we can take a number of those seats away from the Conservatives. This is all contributing towards preventing a Tory majority and a Tory crash-out Brexit
Many
led by Boris
political analysts
Johnson.
are saying you'll only be able to win a very small number of seats.
Well, we think a larger number than the analysts, and we think this can contribute. It would have been a bigger project. It would have been a better thing if Labour had come to talk to us, as the door was open for them to do. But I think it is significant, and the significance is in the parties working together to recognising that putting one candidate forward for a particular point of view in this particular election is for the good of the country. That is mature. That is grown-up
risk for the Greens, though, isn't there, in joining this alliance? It now looks as though remaining in the EU trumps climate change for you as a party, for you as a priority.
Those are both very, very important existential threats to us. And I don't like comparing different things and saying which is more important than the other, but we have to stay in the EU, we have to finish off Brexit the democratic way, and we have to sort out climate chaos. Now, those two things must be done. They're both bottom lines. It's no good saying one's bigger than the other.
But the problem is your manifesto says the time to vote green. Your manifesto says the time to vote green is now, and yet in dozens of seats you're making that impossible for people.
It is. I mean, I totally agree with you that there is this question of why deprive people in a seat of a Green vote, because every single Green vote cast in this election will send that very, very strong climate message. Now, our members in those seats in those areas have voted to support this for the wider project of preventing a Leave Parliament, getting a Remain bloc.
But it makes a nonsense of your manifesto saying the time to vote green is now, if you can't vote green.
Well, in most places you can vote green. Every Green vote cast in the seats where we are standing will send that very, very strong message. Politics is about working together in a grown-up way and doing what's right, and that's what we've done. And sometimes it does result in things that you don't want to see.
And presumably not everyone in your party is happy, are they? The Green Left group within your party are very uneasy about what they see as an alliance with the Lib Dems,
we have
citing Jo Swinson's support for the bedroom tax for benefit cuts. Are you happy to be in this alliance with the Lib Dems?
I'm proud of the way that we've broken the mould of British politics here. And don't forget, the reason we have to do this is our system, our first-past-the-post system, is not proportional. So seats don't match votes, parties who have a particular point of view, parties who want to make sure that the Remain majority that's in the country is reflected in Parliament, can't do that under first-past-the-post.
So you are happy to be in an alliance with the Lib Dems, Jo Swinson's support for bedroom tax benefit cuts?
Oh, we don't agree with them on everything. I mean, that's absolutely clear. I mean, we've had the nuclear question this week as well, where the Greens have been anti-nuclear weapons for a very long time. But I think, in order to get Brexit sorted out the right way, the democratic way, we've talked to these parties and we've made an agreement, of which I am proud. There are Greens now in seats standing as the strong Remain candidate who can win, who can prevent another Conservative, prevent that Brexit majority that we don't want to see. That is something that is worth
The biggest
doing.
pledge in your manifesto is £100 billion a year to tackle climate change.
That's our Green New Deal, the original and the best.
By some analysis, that is increasing national debt by 40%. Are you happy with that?
It is a big increase, but we've increased national debt before to that extent. And if you think about the money that we'll add to the national debt, it's about the same as has been added by the Conservative government since the financial crisis.
But I mean, you're increasing it by 40%.
For something that is the project of the century, preventing runaway climate change. Our numbers have been interrogated. I've been answering questions on them ever since we first put out this policy, and nobody yet has been able to argue that this is not worth doing, an investment in making the country better, that's worth doing in lots of cases anyway, creating lots of green jobs, getting ourselves away from oil and gas, which you'd want to do even if there wasn't climate change. But actually preventing this crisis that will happen is well worth
We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much for coming in to talk to us.
Thank you.